I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon, everyone. After this meeting, the board is going to meet in executive session to discuss particulars of the PBA ongoing negotiations. Is there any visitor or public comment? I note receipt of in our bins of a letter from Mr. Paternostro, who is here, dated February 28, 2015, which we will direct to our zoning hearing board, or counsel for our zoning hearing board, in the Hammerstein hearings. The next meeting of the Board of Supervisors is Tuesday, March 17th, 7 p.m. Daylight savings time this Sunday, coming March 8th. You got to set your clocks ahead an hour. That means we all lose an hour of sleep. Washington, D.C. Cherry Blossom trip is the 21st of March. It's $50 a person. You can sign up by going on to doylestownrec.com. And the blood drive is Friday, March 27th, 2 to 7 at the Activity Center. You can sign up for going to redcrossblood.org. All right, next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from February 17, 2015. Has everyone had a chance to review?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, changes, corrections? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Correspondence.
Nothing that you haven't already.
Mr. Solicitor, any report?
Nothing that I won't discuss later in the agenda.
Township Engineer will pass on. Chief?
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Township Manager?
Yes. In your packet, you have a memo regarding the Pebble Ridge Woodridge vicinity project, and that is really, things are moving along on that. We have the information, the plans and everything, and at this time the appraisals have been completed, and we are looking for the board to authorize us to acquire the necessary easement so that the authority can put the bids out, and also we can start on the ordinance that we will need as well. In your packet, you will see the sort of rough map of where the sewers will be going and the properties. There are 20 of them that we need a 30-foot easement on, as well as the appraisal and estimated taking at this point. So we would like to be able to continue to move this project along, and that would be the next step in the process.
So there's also other aspects to your memo. Are you
Yes.
just asking for this?
We're looking for those authorizations at this time. There have been a few requests from residents off of Bristol Road who are interested in either connecting or possibly getting in there because of need into the sewer system. Those will have to be a later time, further 537 amendment. The Public Water and Sewer Advisory Committee has discussed this, as a couple of the residents came to their meeting previously, expressing that interest, and they are in favor of making sure that the pump station that is part of this project is sized accordingly. And we've been in discussions so that we can address that if need be. It's not that many more properties that we estimate might end up having to have a need to go into the plant, but we'll be able to make those amendments as we get a little further on down the road. But at this point, we would like to be able to acquire the necessary easement.
And that's the only thing we're moving on tonight.
Would be the easements, and that the bids be able to be finalized and get out onto the street.
So easements and bids, or the
Well,
easements are part of the bids?
you really can't go to bid until you have all the easements, because if you go to bid and the contractor's ready to go and you're not, there'll be delay damages and so forth. So it's critical that we get authorization to secure the easements, and
So
when they're done, then you can, with one motion, when easements are all received, then they can go out to bid.
So we're not authorizing the bid at this point, just
You can do that, conditioned upon receiving all the easements,
All right,
yes.
let's do that then. Is there a motion to acquire the easements or assess the value of the easements and then move the matter to bid?
Yes.
Yes?
I'll second.
All right. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
How long does it take to get all those easements?
Well, it all depends, because obviously if they're not secured by voluntary means, by negotiation, you have to file condemnation proceedings, which can take some time. And the way the condemnation process works, that you file the declaration of taking, and then the property owner has 30 days to object or file preliminary objections. If they don't, then the township is deemed to have acquired it. So that's the kind of the time frame.
But it could be even much longer if they
file
dispute it.
preliminary objections, but the only reason you can file preliminary objections is if it's not a public purpose. Number two, that there's some procedural irregularity, and they're the only two reasons why.
Just trying to get an idea. I guess you're saying that we probably won't put this out to bid for quite a while yet.
No, I would think this spring if we're with some luck. I don't mean like March 22nd, but
Right.
this spring.
Well, that's kind of what I was going to ask as well, Stephanie. And we heard from the authority, and not that we have dates identified, but that we have timelines for getting the easements, going out for bid.
We're going to be
get the
acquiring the
easements.
easements. That's why they dropped everything off with the easements. They've had the appraisals done, so we have the actual appraisals and everything for
Yeah.
the properties, and we have the plans.
Yeah.
And then we have a meeting scheduled with them because they want to know about our stormwater work and want to make sure that pipes and things like that, any stormwater work and paving that we might do out there, we don't conflict. So we're going to be
Okay.
meeting with them shortly.
But thank you, but I mean, regardless of who does the work, what I'm trying to identify for residents as to this period of time, if it's 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and I don't know, this is when easements are done, this is the next phase, this is when this one, I would like to see us communicating to residents, this is our projected timeline in months, not in days or dates. So they can anticipate what's going to happen, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, I think with this authorization, I can put something on that we're going to begin the acquisition of the easements, and bids will be finalized, and hopefully, like Jeff said, late spring, those will be out on the street. I mean, it'll be a little vague because I don't have exact
We
dates
don't
at
know
this
what's
time.
going to be out on the street. And then from what's up on the street, what's the next step, what's the next step, and the
Correct.
projected timeline. He's just trying to look for, is it this year, is it 5 years from now? You know, what is it?
It's
How long does each step take, not necessarily into solidifying, but this is the step now, getting easements. Then it goes out to bid, and once it goes out to bid, it's another couple months, 3 months, 4 months, then this happens, and then after that happens, then this happens. So that people can like start saving their money if they already, when are they actually going to be cutting a check? Is that
Correct.
pretty
Well,
much what we're looking for?
The actual, the easements are the first step. You go to bid. Then based upon the bids, you then adopt an ordinance to approve the project, because obviously, if the bids come back in a crazy number, you may want to relook at it.
Sure.
So once you adopt the ordinance and the contractor that issued the bid gets a notice to proceed, all the construction work will be done before you have to come up with any money, because the final construction cost will include the bid cost, the soft cost, any change orders, everything will be, so you won't be needing to get any money, I'm not thinking till the earliest, late fall, early winter of next year.
It's
This
also
year.
for our use, you know,
Yeah.
we would like to know, if I'm characterizing your question, you know, what do we expect to happen?
Correct.
We want to stay on top
Correct.
of what's happening.
Yes.
Understand what the process is that's involved. All right, because then that's helpful for us to be able to communicate when people ask us in the ACME, gee, when are we going to get Pebble Hill, Pebble Ridge sewers? And we can say, well, this is happening, and then that's happening, and, step along the way. So we know you know what you're doing, but we want to be able to sound like we know what we're doing, too. Is
And it
that
has to be a
correct?
consistent message, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And if I understand Jeff, and I don't always, you...
It must be my fault.
No, it's mine.
In a nice way.
Trust me, it's my fault. You suggest that we now have a motion that when you and Stephanie receive all of the
Acquire all the easements.
that you have the authority to put out for bid.
Then she notifies the authority to go out to bid.
I'll make that motion.
It was already made.
We already did. First and second?
I thought we only did it for the easement.
No, acquire easements and
Just to have them call
Did
the
them both
question.
together.
did them both together.
Calling the question.
It already passed.
You already did?
We already passed, we just started talking about it after we
I
passed.
thought we were doing it as two separate.
I'm like, that's my notes. We have the same thing.
Yep.
Thank you, Cynthia.
I'm sorry, I was saying yes, we have it, we have it.
Thank you so much. All right, we've already passed the motion. Do you have any other questions? Okay.
Misunderstood again?
Stephanie, green light, go.
At your last meeting, we discussed the possibility of submitting a grant for the Green Light Go at Swamp and Easton, Old Easton's. After the meeting, we found out that the Bucks County Planning Commission has awarded Gilmore and Associates a study to look at the traffic in that intersection. We did get a number of the municipalities who are very interested in supporting such a project. What we decided not to put, we agreed that not to put the grant in last Friday and wait until that study with Gilmore is completed, and then we'll put this grant in once we know what the study results are. Dave Tomko thinks it'll carry even more weight because we'll have the study behind it, and I believe all 4 municipalities will participate at that point as well.
All right. All right, supervisors. Sean?
Only one comment. We had a meeting yesterday for Central Bucks Regional Aging Task Force, and we had several representatives from different groups there, both from the Consumer Weights and Measures, Mike Bannon, and we had a representative from AARP there discussing the services they offer free to seniors, both of lower and middle income at the senior center. And this is with that new format where we have quote-unquote Charlie Rose kind of thing, where that's an interview and it's going to be televised. But that said, if you are a senior and you're of lower or middle income, you can schedule your appointment at the Central Bucks Senior Center for help with your taxes through Representative Quinn's office. They handle the scheduling for setting up the appointments, and they can do that all the way up to tax day April 15th. In addition, the only other thing that was considered, or I think will be continued to discuss at the next meeting, is they're considering maybe just shortening the name a little bit of the Central Bucks, Regional Aging Task Force. Maybe drop the aging, maybe just add senior. Anyhow, it's just a little change, but we'll see. They're going to further discuss that at the next meeting, and I would expect if they do follow up, they'll put a formal request into the board. But
Did you have a bigger turnout?
we had 11, and we had representatives from both the borough and the township there, and we're actually setting up our speakers through the spring. And if you know of anybody out there or from the board that knows anybody that would like to come speak to the and be televised, interviewed by Kevin Jamison or by anybody else, we can do that. It's been good. We've, I guess, effectively tripled our attendance by having 11 from what I've been told from the past. But and it seems really, we're sequestered in this little library right now because AARP has the big room. So right now we're like sitting on each other's laps practically. But we'll have the larger room, and that's the first Monday of the month if anybody's interested. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Snyder?
Just a couple comments, just to mention again, we mentioned at the last meeting, the Ways and Means having their 2016 Budget Kickoff on April 9th, which is going to be a public meeting, and so I'm expecting them to put together a good agenda and get this process started early, so those who want to attend, please do. A couple EAC comments. Native Garden cleanup, March 20th and 21st, 9 a.m. to 12 at the Native Garden back by the Environmental Education Center. Also, they talked at a previous meeting about the Kestrel Award. The 2 Kestrel boxes are up. There's one down off of 202 Parkway near Lower State, and the other one is up in Central Park. So that is done. And also Arbor Day. We have identified April 25th, again, 9 o'clock, meet at Environmental Education Center. That's all I have.
What are the times on the cleanup on March 21st?
9 to 12 on
Thanks.
March 20th and 21st.
Thanks. Okay, Ryan?
I do not have anything.
Anything?
Yes. We'd like to, we spoke about it last time, and suggested we have a public meeting with the DTMA staff and the Board of Supervisors, and I'm suggesting March 19th at 3 o'clock, which is right before the DTMA meeting at 4. And that will be a public meeting. We can do that meeting, and then the DTMA can have their meeting subsequent to that. So, is that a good time and a good date for everyone? Is everyone, any questions or concerns?
You can just consensus, you don't need a motion.
I'm good for that time, date. Yep, I'm seeing lots of heads.
I'm not. I told Stephanie that I wasn't, but I can get,
You can watch it.
I can watch it, sure.
Make sure you advertise that, Stephanie.
Yes.
All right, sounds like a plan. March 19th, it's Thursday at 3 o'clock here.
And just an aside, what Brian mentioned, and I think it's a good point. In my opinion, to get all of us at a meeting is near impossible. And I think that when we have meetings set up, I think the chair and the liaison for that committee should agree on a date and then tell us, basically, it's going to be such and such a date. If we can make it, we can make it. If we can't, we can't. To constantly be going back and forth with dates and times, I think just prolongs the process. So I would suggest in the future, if there's a meeting, excuse me, with the board and the committee, that the liaison and the chair settle on their time and dates, and then just notify us and do it that way. So-
I would suggest a compromise and get liaison and chair come up with 3 dates. That works with the township, and then it gives us a lot more flexibility. Okay?
2?
Typically, I go with 3 because I like odd numbers, but I'm okay with 2.
Well, whatever everybody thinks. It just seems like
I think
it
3
gets
is-
crazy bouncing back and forth, trying to
I
get us
agree.
all at one meeting. It's just not going to
So if many people
happen.
can make one of those 3 meetings, that's what we'll go with, okay?
I'll
Thank you.
defer. The other issue was the Planning Commission met, and it was well attended. It was the proposed, what they call the Wawa, up on 313 and Ferry Road, and they did a presentation. And as I mentioned, it was well attended. Many residents showed up. And just for the board's edification, the residents have currently tremendous problems with traffic cutting through, avoiding that light, avoiding that intersection, cutting through their neighborhood, basically at all hours of the day and night, because when traffic backs up, people aren't going to sit for 2 or 3 lights. They're going to start making turns, switches, et cetera. So the applicant and the Planning Commission is going to meet again, and obviously the residents, and maybe there's some way we can solve a lot of problems with everybody working together. But that is a big issue, the cutting through traffic, which goes on today. Having this would just exacerbate the situation. And that's all I have.
Okay, thanks. I have just one thing, well, 2 things. The young man who received his Eagle Scout proclamation on Sunday did 20 Kestrel boxes.
Did he really?
He made 20. Wow. 20. So Hewitt Haworth. So we have 2, he did 20. Maybe he put some in Dawson Township. The other thing is I pitched it for Ryan at the last meeting of the Kids Council. It was fully attended by all members of the committee. Joe is doing a bang-up job. Joe Savati is chair. He's got everything organized, and good things are expected in the next few months, so stand by. And that's all I have. Next item on the agenda, update to the personnel manual,
Yes.
so we can comply with the Americans
Affordable Care Act, yes.
Affordable Care Act.
Yes.
See, I'm thinking of ADA, sorry,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at ADA, sorry.
Yes, through our health trust, they sent us some information that would help us comply with the Affordable Care Act and amendments that we need to make to our personnel manual. And these changes would be made to both the document that we have that was adopted prior to 2012 and then the one that we adopted with amendments for employees hired after 2012. And those include the full-time employees, the requirement of working the 30 hours or more, and making sure that temporary part-time employees are not hitting that threshold, and that our wording is changed, and we've provided you with the backup to show those changes that need to take place in the documents. Also, the ACA is going to require us to allow full-time employees, their children to be covered to age 26, including those that are biological, adopted, step, and eligible for foster children. So we need to make that amendment as well and clarify our documents. And lastly, we have the work schedule for nursing mothers, and we need to provide a place where they can express milk, et cetera, and it cannot be the lavatory. So I just want to, we've provided the segments of the documents where those changes need to be made, and would ask the board to authorize us to make the changes in the documents as outlined.
Is there a motion to approve the changes as
So-
required?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions about the changes? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Next item on the agenda, resolution in support of naming CBE Stadium after First Lieutenant Colby J. Umbrell, a resident of Doylestown Township, and his parents are resident of Doylestown Township, and it's in that, in that vein that we're supporting this naming. Everyone had a chance to review the resolution. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second that?
Okay. Discussion?
Yes, I have an issue with it. As we all know, we're here and elected for the health, safety, and welfare, and this does not fit into that. And I think it's, I don't know why we want to cover this ground. I don't know why we want to get involved. The Central Bucks School District has had a lot of discussion on it. They've had a lot of information from both sides. And I certainly don't need a letter from us. And I think we have to be careful. If it's a feel-good thing to send this resolution to the school board, I think we have to be careful when we do these resolutions. The implication is that many or most of the residents of Doylestown Township support that. And there's no basis for that. And
Is that what a resolution is, that the most of the township residents support it?
Well, it's going to go out on our letterhead, and it's going to say we support this resolution. And I don't know how you could make the basis that the township that we are representing does that.
I'm confused. The town.
No, we have no empirical data to say that most of the people in our township support this resolution. So for us to put out a resolution like that, I think is dangerous ground. There's many people out there that do not support that, and there are great arguments on both sides, and I'm not trying to make this an issue of this particular resolution. There's excellent arguments on both sides, and for us to make the statement that, or the implication that the township supports this instead of the other one, I think is...
I think that the reason is because Colby was a Doylestown Township resident. I think at the heart of it, I don't see it as a feel-good resolution. It's not a feel-good resolution. It's we, the board representing Doylestown Township, are saying that we're in support of naming the stadium after a Doylestown Township resident for the reasons that were laid out in the resolution.
Right, he was born and raised here, et cetera, et cetera. But
Well,
I don't think that the majority of the residents agree with that. At least we have no data or empirical data to show that.
Well,
That's just
yeah, but
your feeling.
But it's your feeling by saying that most of the residents don't agree with that.
I'm saying stay out of it. I don't have a feeling one way or the other. I'm saying we should stay out of it. There's no point in it. They've got enough information. I can't, the only reason the school board's not making a decision is because they've got some vacation or absenteeism or something they can't get, so they want to postpone it
I
a
would
little
just
bit.
say beyond that, we've put forth many resolutions that we have not polled the Doylestown Township community to see where they stand on it, whether they have any sort of controversy around them or not. We don't know. When we put forth a Eagle Scout resolution, we don't know that the Doylestown Township community fully supports that. We have no empirical data that supports that.
I think the last one we did was on the smoking in Fonthill, in
Right.
Bucks County. I can make an argument for that. I think our residents do want that and do support that. I can make an argument for even the Boy Scouts or whatever other resolutions. This one is an issue that's not in our venue. It's in the school board's purview, and I just don't see why we want to get into this situation. I don't think it benefits anyone, and I know, let the school board do their job. That's my opinion.
Okay. Other comments?
No, I was just going to add that if the resolution that's on the table passes, that we don't have to sign off as from the Doylestown Board of Supervisors. We can individually sign off on it if it's not passed unanimously.
Well, it would just be the board members that voted for it.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. If
Yeah.
there's an objection, if Mr. Clolo objects to it, he doesn't. Sometimes it's signed the board of, behalf of the Board of Supervisors in this case.
A majority carries the resolution.
No, I appreciate that. I'm just saying it doesn't. He doesn't want to be named. That's all.
I think the resolution specifically states a celebration of and honor of one of our residents and his
Right.
family. That's the point of it. And we're in support of it, support of the naming. That's what the resolution says. It probably has no force or effect what the school board's going to do. It's just, we're just one
Our
more
support.
entity, one more person,
Right.
a collective person who says this, who is supporting the naming of a stadium for Colby, or in some form.
Right. Just a question for Rick. I mean, what's the downside? Say we did pass this, and what is really the impact?
Well, I think we are representing that most of the residents support this resolution.
Okay.
And I don't think that's an accurate statement. I don't know if it is or it isn't, but I think that's what this resolution is saying, that, we have the conscience of the township, and therefore we want to further this along because of our residents, and that's the first one. The second one is, what's the upside to it? So why get involved at all? Why jump into the Central Bucks School District's business?
I think we're not jumping into their business. Like Barb said, we're just saying, hey, this is, we as the township, are behind naming it after Colby Umbro. And I think that we have to be careful. I mean, totally, that's your opinion if you don't want to get involved with it. But I think we run a slippery slope if we say that we can stand up here and pass a resolution on smoking, and you can say, I know that most of the residents don't want smoking. I don't know that. We don't know how many people use tobacco products in this township and how many are adamantly opposed to that. But we, as the board, make that stand up here to make that resolution. Just as I wouldn't go and say, I don't think that the majority